All right, guys, let's get started. Welcome everyone to the next episode on SAP UI5 and Fiori training. In the last couple of episodes, we have discussed about setting up our development environment web IDE, also starting with HTML5 and CSS. By far, we have observed that both HTML5 and CSS are directly understood by browser. You don't need extra compiler or extra stuff to make the browser understand your HTML and CSS. But they both of them are markups. They are not capable of doing any manipulation. For example, if I want to do a total of A plus B, I cannot do that because HTML and CSS are just markups. They are not programming languages. So that brings us to a question. If I want to do some manipulation, what is that programming language I can start using? And that's where the most important topic of this entire course is called JavaScript. Now, before I start JavaScript, please understand the very important statement over here. You need to understand this. This is extremely important for all of you before you start learning JavaScript. JavaScript and Java are completely different programming languages in their design, purpose, and usage. They are completely different. There is nothing in common except the word Java. Nothing is common. You don't need to learn Java programming to learn JavaScript. No, it's a myth. That's what keeps most of a BAP developer away from UI5. That's the main reason. They're thinking that they need to learn Java to learn JavaScript. No, it's a myth. Okay. Now, coming to JavaScript. JavaScript is browser's programming language. And all browsers understand JavaScript directly. Wow, what a statement. All of the browsers, they understand JavaScript directly, guys. There is no extra compiler, extra stuff needed to run JavaScript. Browser understand JavaScript directly. Wow. This is browser's programming language. This is most used programming language on our planet. Can you believe that? If you Google which is the most used programming language on earth, you will find it's JavaScript. Yes, guys. So why don't you learn JavaScript? Because it's the most used programming language on this planet. Now comes to the question what JavaScript is capable of. But before that, let's understand the types of JavaScript. There are two types of JavaScript. Interview question. First is called client-side JavaScript and second is called server-side JavaScript. As the name suggests, the client side and server side. I hope you are all still remember the concept of client server architecture, which I've given you in the HTML chapter. I hope you all still remember this diagram. The client server or the request response architecture. This is what we have seen by far in the last class. So this is I just bring that over here once again. This is our client server architecture. So what is client side JS and what is server side JS? The client side JS means the JavaScript code which runs completely on the client side. That is client side JS, which means it runs locally in your computer browser. The server side JavaScript, however, when the code runs on the server side. So you write the code here. So then that code runs on the server side, not on the client side. This is also possible where the complete JS code runs on the server side. Like instead of using ABAP, instead of using Java, instead of using ABAP, instead of using .NET, instead of using Python, instead of using any other programming, I am using JavaScript itself on my server side to do all the manipulation and logic. That's also possible. That's called server-side JavaScript. I hope this is clear, everybody. The two types of JavaScript. The client-side JavaScript runs on the client machine in the browser directly. That's client-side JavaScript, which means it runs completely on the client side. That's the reason it's extremely faster. Because you have everything not sending a load on server. Like in SAP world, whenever you press enter key, it makes a call to SAP server. Whenever you click, it makes a call to SAP server all the time. That makes your overall system slow because everybody needs server to run the system. But when it comes to client side, browsers are becoming more and more powerful with these powerful computers which you buy these days with heavy load of memory and multi-core CPUs. It's completely possible to now support the JavaScript or the programming on the client side much faster. And client itself is so powerful that it can do things. You have now octa-core processor in your mobile phone itself, right? So JavaScript is becoming very powerful and it can run on client side easily, and you don't need to wait longer to make a call to server for everything. Yeah, that's why client-side JavaScript is more popular. In this course, when I say JS, we are referring to client-side JS. I hope this is clear. जब भी मैं बात करूंगा इस कोर्स में, अब मैं हमेशा क्लाइंट साइड जावास्क्रिप्ट का बात करूंगा. I will always talk about client side JavaScript. There is no room for server side JS in this course. We'll not learn server side JS. I mean, learning wise, both are same. Okay, syntactically they are same. Concept wise, they are all same. Little bit things are different, but most of the time it's always, in fact, 100% of the time I'm talking about client side JS. Server side JS, when the code runs on server side, the purpose is to, when the code runs on the server side, the purpose of server side JavaScript, when the code runs on server side, the purpose of server side JavaScript. What's the purpose of server side JavaScript? The purpose of server side JavaScript to do database lookup. You can do database lookup. you can do manipulation, you can do application logic, whatever you can think of in ABAP programming. What you do in ABAP, you write validation of inputs, everything, all of this you can do with server-side JavaScript. Syntactically, it's same. The rules which we learn here, they all applies. Example of server-side JavaScript is Node.js. Have you ever heard about Node.js? That's a server-side JavaScript. XSJS, in HANA we use XSJS, server-side JavaScript. So these are all the examples of server-side JavaScript frameworks. All right. So we will not be talking about server-side JavaScript. This was also important for you to know, just an information, so that in an interview you don't get confused. Now, coming to our main goal, client-side JavaScript. What is that client-side JavaScript is capable of doing? Why we use client-side JavaScript and what is it capable? So what is the purpose of client-side JS? The purpose of client-side JS is it can do a lot of stuff for you. So the first thing, it can validate data. It can show output to the user. For that, we have 4 type of function: console.log, document.write. We have inner text, and then we have alert. These are all the 4 different functions we can use to display output to the user. It can validate the data. It can manipulate the DOM at runtime. We can change the CSS of the element. We can process the HTML content at runtime. All these are the benefits of client-side JavaScript, or usage, or the purpose of client-side JavaScript. Very important, guys. We'll be learning all of these things in throughout now to learn client-side JavaScript. Now the question comes: how do you apply JavaScript? How to apply the client-side JavaScript on an HTML page? So guys, again, it comes with 3 ways by which we can apply the client-side JavaScript. First is called inline JavaScript. Second is called internal JavaScript. And third is called external JavaScript. So inline JavaScript is actually when the JavaScript code is written at HTML element level. This code will be written against an element in HTML. Against an event of an HTML element. Okay, it will be written against an event of HTML element. This code will be written against an event. So you'll be doing an event. For that event of HTML element, it will be written. This code will be written against an event of HTML element. Inline JavaScript against an event of HTML element. Event. Uske level pe rakha jayega. Now the question comes: what is an event? So let's understand what is an event. Suppose you have a browser, and in this browser you have a button. Okay, you created a button out here, and now your user is clicking on this button. User comes and user click on this button. Now when user clicking and on this button, that's an activity. User is doing what? User is doing an activity. User is doing a click. Now this activity creates an event actually. Okay, this activity which user is doing here is what creates an activity. I hope all of you are clear what is an activity. Everybody, are you clear? Whenever user does an activity on this button, what is the activity user can do? User can click on the button, user can double click on the button. All these are activities which user can do. And whenever user is doing this activity, that is causing an event to trigger. So this triggers an event. So maybe just make a sine wave. something like this. So this symbol, you can understand that this is raising a signal. This is creating an event. So this is an event which is created, and this event will be sensed by your programming code, and that programming code will execute. Now, what can be an event? Event can be example, on click, on double click, on load, whenever page loads. All these are different events, my friend. Okay, these are different types of events, so that's called events. Now, where can we find the list of events? Any guesses? Anybody in the chat window, can you guess where can we find the list of all the events which JavaScript supports? Who will tell me?
Oh,
Where can you
Java.
find?
That was
Huh?
disabled. That was disabled.
Anubhav, chat was disabled. Can you please
Chat
open
was
the
disabled. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I had a demo yesterday, so chat was disabled. Now I think you guys can answer. Chat has been enabled. So what do you think? Where can we find all the list of events? Which place do you think we can? Yes, perfect answer. Rohit Sharma has got fastest one. It's W3C, JavaScript event. Just go there. And now you will see JavaScript events W3C schools. Fantastic. Fantastic. If you come down a little bit, you can see some of the events over here. The full list is available here for DOM events. You see full list. So on change, on click, on mouse over, mouse up, mouse down and on load. These are important ones, the most common ones. But if you want to see the complete list like drag and drop, abort, after print, animation, blur, can play, click, context menu, draw, copy, cut, paste, drag, drop, drag over, drag start, drag ended, error, focus, focus in, focus out, full screen change, hashtag change. You see, there are a whole bunch of events over here. Of course, we don't use all of them every time. This is just a reference. But yes, you have all these events available on W3C. So we will be using on click event. So that's the first way of writing JavaScript. So let's go ahead and see it in action now. It's time, enough of theory, let's time in action. So I'm going to go back to foundation once again. I'm going to create a very simple HTML page very quick. So jsdemo.html, and we're going to just create a header, and then we're going to create a body, and then of course this whole thing moves under HTML. As I mentioned, doc type is not mandatory anymore, so I'm just keeping it up. And now it's time to go to body. Under the body, I will be putting here, let's say, a button. And I will say on click. What should happen on click? That's how you write the event name. This is the event name. What is the activity triggers this event? This event will be triggered by click activity by user. And I will say click me. Click me. Let's run this up. Of course, I have to go back, right click, run configuration, and zoom out a little bit. Zoom out. And then you just have to choose this new file, JSDemo, save and run, please. Let me take it in another window altogether. I'm going to go back and take it in altogether. Another window over here makes it easy for me to switch between the context, and voila. You can see a first button on the UI. When I click, nothing happens. There's nothing like magic. Exactly what you write is what you're going to get, guys. There's nothing like magic. So now it's time to experience what can we do. So watch out, inline JavaScript. So I will just say on click what to do. So I will use one of the output function called alert. And in this, I will write single quote, and I will say, welcome to Anubhav JS chapter. Save this up, come back, reload on the right side, and now we are ready to click. Very nice. Look at here, the output function, the first output function, guys, on your screen, alert function, which displays the data in a pop-up. That's a JavaScript built-in function which shows you the data in the pop-up over here. Welcome to Anubhav JS chapter. Fantastic. So that's your first output function, alert function on your UI on click event. But what is the disadvantage of this inline JavaScript? What is the disadvantage? Disadvantage of inline JavaScript. What is it? We cannot debug this. It is not reusable. You cannot reuse. Let me show you. I'm going to add another button and I will say click me to. Now I want to reuse the same code, alert welcome to About.js chapter. Can I reuse it? Is it possible that I can invoke the another one from here? I cannot. I cannot invoke the another function from here. Not possible. Not possible, guys. So you have to again repeat the same code or the second button also. You have to repeat it. So if there is a need to reuse the piece of code, I cannot do that. It's a time that I have to repeatedly put it. So that's the main problem. Hence, we will not typically use the inline JS because maintenance is too high. And also it is actually sitting very close to actual rendering code. This is your rendering code. This is the code which displays the button. So typically the processing logic and the rendering logic, display logic should be separate. Your UI should be separate. Your business logic should be separate. That's how the general development works, right? Whenever you build a app also, you put include programs. Why you put include programs? To modularize your code. All the PBO in one include, all the PAI in another include, all the data declaration in one include, right? So you always do separation of code, which is quite important for us. Yeah. So let's go ahead and see how can we do the maintenance over here. So I'm going to go back and make you show the another type to make my maintenance lower. It's internal JavaScript. Internal JavaScript, what is it? Internal JavaScript is nothing but when the code is written at the level of, when your JavaScript code is written at the level of page, not at the level of element. And how do you do that? You remember in case of CSS, we also had internal CSS. We had that. What a tag name, interview question. What a tag name did we use to write internal CSS? What a tag name we use to write internal CSS? Style tag. Rohit Sharma again, fastest and fantastic answer. So similarly here we have another tag and that's called script tag. We will be using script tag. So we will use the script tag here to write internal CSS, internal JS. Okay. So now before we do that, let's understand some funda foxes here on JavaScript. One of the most important slide to understand JavaScript beautifully. The very first funda fox on your screen, which is extremely important. 90% of you will do mistakes. And I'm expecting you to do mistakes. Please do that. But please read these funda foxes before coming to me, Anubhav, my code is not working. The first funda fox on your screen, JavaScript is case sensitive. Which means writing capital S and writing small s are two different things for JavaScript. Be very careful. Those who coming from a web background and learning UI5, this is where your 90% of issue lies. You are doing case sensitive mistakes and that's where you are having 90% of your issues. Those who coming from other programming languages, this is the case. It is case sensitive. Okay. Unlike ABAP is not case sensitive. So writing here every single character in smaller or capital letter is little tricky because it's case sensitive. Second thing, every statement in JavaScript ends with semicolon. Semicolon matlab ye wala symbol. All right. This is the symbol. Every statement in JavaScript ends with semicolon. Very important, guys. JavaScript naming convention. What is a naming convention? It follows camel case. Okay. Camel case means Let me explain that. First letter of first word is small, and the next consecutive words first letter is capital. कैसे लिखेंगे? For example, let me take an example. I love India. Let's write this in camel case. How do you write this in camel case? So watch out. First letter of first word. What is the first word? First word is I. So we will just put I as it is, smaller. Okay. First word of first letter is small. I is a word. I itself is also its first character. So I is small. Next consecutive word. What is next consecutive word? Next consecutive word is love. And then next consecutive word is India. So these are all the consecutive words you have. So when you say I, first letter or first word is I, small. Next consecutive word is love. Love ka first letter is L. L is capital. And then India is the third word. Next consecutive word India. Then I is capital India. Everybody, are you clear? How do you write JavaScript naming convention? This is what we follow for all the variable names and all the function names in JavaScript. Very important. Let me do a quick test for all of you. We enjoy training. We enjoy session. So let me see how many of you can write in chat window the correct answer. We enjoy session as part of JavaScript naming convention. Who will give me the answers? Okay, there are many answers. Almost every one of you are almost majority is correct, but some of you are still doing mistakes, which is fine. Let me again repeat this. We enjoy session. First word is we. This is our first word. Second word is enjoy. Let's break it down into words. So second is enjoy, and then third word is session. Okay. So first words, first character V. V ka W. W is small. The second word is enjoy. Enjoy is first character E. Enjoy E capital. And then third word is session. Session S, first letter of next consecutive word session. Session ka S bada. Everybody, are you clear? JavaScript naming convention, this is going to help you a lot. So that's about JavaScript naming convention. Moving to the next. JavaScript also has some predefined variables which we can use directly. So JavaScript has some predefined variables. Predefined variables as in which you can use. Like in ABAP, anybody from ABAP background, what is that you use in ABAP to get the current date? What do you do to get current date in ABAP? Sci-datum, right? Do you need to declare sci-datum in ABAP? Do you need to separately declare it data, site datum, type, date? Do you need to declare? No, no. It's predefined, right? In every programming language, you have a lot of predefined variables. Similarly, in JavaScript, we have also predefined variable which we can directly use. There are two very powerful predefined variable. These are document variable. The first one is called document variable D small. Yaad rakhiyega, D small, very important. Document variable, what is it? This is the object of DOM. This is the object of what? This is the object of DOM. पूरा का जो DOM है आपका उसका object है ये. This is the object of your DOM. The second predefined object is window object. Okay, this is the window object. What is the window object does? A window object is, this is the object of window, browser window actually. Okay, it's a browser window object. We will be using these objects heavily going forward. Okay, heavily going forward. Now, example. Let's take some example. How can you use document object? Document object can be used to manipulate or change the DOM at runtime. It helps to obtain the object or objects, multiple, yeah, of the HTML content. So JavaScript, so the document object will help you to obtain the object. Remember another important thing, everything is an object. Very important funda, folks. Everything is an object. So your HTML elements are also objects. This button, this guy is also an object. This is also an object. This whole DOM, document object model, this whole DOM is considered to be an object for JavaScript. Okay, so you actually are referring this document as this DOM object. This whole thing, this whole tree is considered to be the document object, which is readily available for you. Now, what you can do is you can call different methods. So you can get an element, get a single element object using its ID. Right? Remember, I told you that ID is unique. So if you want to get an element object with its ID, you can use method called get element by ID, and you just pump in the ID inside like here. Okay. Next comes is getting all the elements of same family. Yes, guys, you know what is a family? Let me ask this question, everybody. What is representing the family? What is representing the family, guys? What is representing the family? It's a class, classification, perfect answer. So you will say get elements by class name. Wow, Anubhav. Wow, look at that, guys. Get elements plural because there can be multiple. Okay. There can be multiple. Get elements by class name. You will pass the class name. It will give you all those elements. Look at the naming convention. The first letter is small. Next consecutive word, first letter is capital. देखिए बहुत ध्यान से देखिए. This is the naming convention. If you do a mess here, it is not going to work. It's strictly following its naming convention and it is case sensitive. Similarly, you have get elements by name, get elements by class name. Yeah. So get elements by tag name. We also have, like these different functions. These are ready-made functions. They all belongs to document object. So these are functions. You see parentheses. These are functions and they all are family of document object. We will be using them. Now it's time that we create our own function. So what is the syntax to create functions in JavaScript? There are two ways to create functions in JavaScript. The first is called anonymous function. The second is called named function. What is anonymous function? What is anonymous function? A function which doesn't have a name. That's why it's called anonymous. Jiska koi naam nahi, wo ban gaya anonymous. All right. A function without a name is anonymous function. So just say function. This is how you declare them. F has to be small. JavaScript naming convention, parentheses, curly braces. Come down and inside this you will write your coda. All your coda goes inside separated with semicolon. That's an anonymous function definition. Then comes is the named function. What is named function? A function with a name. So you have to say function and its name. My name is function. I hope you're clear. You see how am I writing? JavaScript naming convention, my name is function. This is a function. And now just say parentheses, curly braces, and again you will write your coda inside over here with semicolon. That's how you will be writing the named function. The above one is unnamed function, anonymous function. This one is the named function. My name is function. All right. So that's how you'll create. You can also add parameters, of course. I don't want to go too much complexity because it will confuse you guys. But of course, you can add parameters to the function just like any other programming language. It is also possible. So let's go ahead and write a function, reusable function in internal JavaScript and then call that function from our on-click event. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go back and now come to header section. This is where we put a script tag to write an internal JavaScript. And then I will say function Anubhav is here. This is my first function. And I'm going to cut this alert from here. Bye-bye. And I put that here with semicolon. Guys, are you all clear? Everybody, is this statement clear? Please answer in chat window. That will motivate me and you will get best out of Anubhav. Is this clear? How we separated out the code from there and put it in a reusable function. And guess what? You just have to plug the function now. You just have to plug the function. This is the function name. Copy that function name and put it over here on click. Completely reusable now. If I want to change the code, I don't have to change at two places. I can change it at only and only one place because both of them are reusing the same function. That's what internal JavaScript does. It allows you to write multiple functions, and that's the way you can have reusability. I can have another function is my, let's say, second function. And then I will say enter, and like this I can write more functions. So yeah, so as many functions you want, you can write them. Let's go ahead and test it before we proceed. I'm going to refresh. It will result the same thing. There's no change in the result. Of course, you all know that because we didn't change anything. We just changed the structure of the code, but we didn't change the actual code. Okay, now let's move on to the next output function. So I will show you the next output function. Before that, let's also come back. So that was about creating functions. Now coming to the most important, my favorite topic, variables in JavaScript. Okay, what are the types of variables in JavaScript? So we have basically one thing you need to understand. When we create variables in JavaScript, we do not need to specify the type. Wow. Like in ABAP, when you declare a variable, you say data, LV matner, type matnr, right? This is what you do when you're using ABAP programming. But when you're doing JavaScript programming, bye-bye, not needed. You will say variable, var is a keyword. We use var as a keyword. V has to be small. And then, of course, your variable name. Yeah, your variable name, whatever variable, equals to the variable value. And then accordingly, based on the value you supply, if I'm supplying a string value in double quote, then it becomes a string variable. If I supply boolean, it becomes boolean. Number, it becomes number. Is that clear? So let's experience the different types of variables in JavaScript. Now, guys, as I told you, most important thing, browser understand JavaScript directly understand JavaScript. So that's the reason now I can straight away go back to even in my web IDE and I can go and test all the JavaScript variable creation code in console. Guys, browser directly understand JavaScript. Just press F12, come here to the console tab, just do this clear console, and now here you can write all the testing of your JavaScript. Are you all clear? Is that clear, everybody? You can do things over here directly. Yeah, you can test it directly because browser understand directly the JavaScript. Okay, some people saying, Anubhav, what is the use of anonymous function with parenthesis? So please hold on, heavy dose of antibiotic. When the time comes, I will show you. Okay. Right now, just focus on this named function. This is extremely important to understand, and then later on we'll go to advanced stuff. Okay. So all the JavaScript code will be in server. How is it transferred to the browser? It's via request response. Okay. We will cover that also later, Mayur, not right now. So now, guys, JavaScript is executed in the client side actually. The execution is happening on the browser and browser directly understands. So you can test it over here also. So let me show you testing some JavaScript variables. We can use some JavaScript variables, create them. I will also share this entire code with all of you in the notepad file. Okay, in the notepad file, I will be giving this code to all of you so you guys can also practice this later on. So let's create our first variable, var x equals to 10. What do you think var x equals to 10? What is the data type of x which has created? What do you think system creates? What is the data type of this variable x is of type? Perfect answer, all of you correct. It's number. So how do you check it's what is a type system has given to it? So you say type of function, it's a built-in function, parenthesis pass x here, and it will tell you the type of this variable. It's a number. So you did not specify the data type. It's not like int I, like we used to do in C programming. Before only we have to tell the data type. We don't have to do that in JavaScript. That's a great sign. It is so intelligent that it determines automatically. Okay. Now coming to the next one, var y is equals to 10. अब बताओ, देखते हैं कितना programming का knowledge है. How strong is your basics of programming? What do you think is the data type of y? कौन बताएगा? Let's see. What do you think is the data type of y? Perfect answer. It's a character, because we putting in the single quote or double quote. That's a literal. So this will be treated as a string variable. So I say type of y, enter, and you see this is string. Fantastic. String hai ye. Remember, this is treated as a string, even though it's a 10, but it's treated as a string. Now, if I want to convert a variable, which I'm sure that it is currently a number inside a string, how can I do the conversion? So we can use y dot to number. Okay. Sorry, we can say parse int, parse to an integer, my y. Please convert my y and parse that to an integer. So that's how you convert a string to a number if you're very much sure that the given value of y is a number and it was by mistakenly kept in a string. So you can do this parsing, very interesting. And now you can see it is giving you 10 as a number. That's actually a number type. Now let me ask next question, var mera, or I say my is equals to false. Who will tell me what is this one of type? Anybody? What do you think this one is a data type of what? What is the data type of this guy? Exactly. You are all right. It's a Boolean data type. Let's do a type of, and I say my. Yes, it's a Boolean one. Superb, guys. Thank you so much for your answers. You guys are fantastic. Let's come back. Put it here. Now, this is how we create simple variables one by one. But what about if I want to store group of values together? Like in ABAP, we have a structure for that. Okay. In ABAP programming, we have a structure. So a structure is combination of multiple fields. Yeah. Like this. A single line with multiple data types. So you can have employee ID. Then you can have name, which is a string. You can have salary, which is a number. You can have currency. You can have whether employee smoker, which is a Boolean. So I want to store multiple data types together in form of a structure. How can I create a similar structure over here in the JavaScript? How is that possible? Very much possible. So let's see that. So before that, go to PPT. So we already saw that the data type as numbers, string, Boolean, and I'll show you is structure. Actually, it's not called structure. It's called object. Okay. So as I told you, everything is an object. So this will be treated as an object. Basically, it's creating a structure of multiple variety of data types. Okay. It's a structure. Object means it's a structure, guys. So how do you do that? It's very simple. Just come back. And now you see here this guy. This is a structure. So you can store multiple value. But remember, this is treated as an object. What is the syntax to create this object? Very simple syntax it is actually. So syntax is your var, whatever name you want. So maybe I can just name it as my obj. But naming convention nahi bhulna hai dosto. My obj, O is capital. My obj, O is capital. Fantastic. So now you curly braces, and inside this you keep putting your property name, property value, property name, colon, property value. This is first field of the structure. Property 2, colon, property value 2. This is second field, comma. This is property 3, colon, value 3, and so on. You can keep specifying after comma each property one by 1. Everybody, are you clear how to create a structure, an object structure over here? Let's go to the system and now let's create employee structure. So I'm going to come back, clear everything, just say var, and I say my emp equals to curly braces, and we can just come here inside and we can keep writing. So employee ID. So the property name is emp ID. Employee ID is 100, comma emp name, employee name. You can put any property name you like, guys. There's no rule. And I'll say Anubhav, and then I will say comma, and I can do shift enter to go to next line. This is also possible, makes it easy for you. Salary 5,000, comma, shift enter, go to new line. You can do like this. This is possible. Currency, and I'll say US dollars. Yeah. So I've got this beautiful structure created with multiple fields. Press enter, voila, that is your structure. Everybody, are you clear how to create a structure which can compose multiple data types together? Easy? Yes, perfect. So let's go ahead and see that in the action. So my EMP, when you do, it looks like this. Let's do a type of. मैं देखना चाहता हूँ किस type का बनाया है इसने. ये क्या समझता है इसको? It's an object, guys. It's a type of object. Everybody, I hope you're clear. Whatever I just gave you, I hope this is very much clear to you. What exactly is the type of it? It's an object type. Now, how do you work with this object? In ABAP, you follow Mara-Matner. Right? You follow the structure hyphen field name in ABAP. But here you will follow my EMP dot the property name. And you see all the properties are visible here. So I want to print employee name, array, era, employee name आपका. अगर आपको बदलना, you want to change the employee name, very easy, just use this. You can use up and down arrow here in console. Up arrow of keyboard and down arrow of keyboard makes it easy to traverse. Yeah. So now I can say Jessica. Press enter, and now I want to show you my EMP completely. You see it has been changed to Jessica. Fantastic. This is how you can change the values or read the values from the structure. Fantastic. Now next what I want to see is I want to add new property. Simply go to that and add a new property, smoker equals to true. Just do that, and now you check your structure. You can see the new property is added to the structure. It's as easy, as simple as that. Okay, that's how you can add new property to the structure. What else you can do with structure? So that's how you create a structure. Now I want to show you, before we move on, some string operations. So I can say var str equals to Anubhav Oberoi. Actually superstitious, so I always use Y at my name. And now that's my name. So now what I want to do is I want to split these two into two parts. Okay. But before we move, let's also talk about another very powerful data type, like internal table in ABAP we have, right? So this structure can only hold one single record of multiple data types. What about if I want to hold multiple records? Which means I want to create an internal table like of stuff. So that's exactly called array in JavaScript. Array, like your internal table in ABAP, which can store multiple values. Now, interesting things about array. What is the syntax for an array? Syntax of an array is very, very simple. Var array name equals to bracket. Guys, symbols will break you or make you. Curly braces, parenthesis, and bracket. You will use value 1, comma, value 2, comma, value 3, comma, value 4. You can call them as item 1, item 2, item 3, and item 4, and so on, to add multiple items as part of your array. And how will it be visualized in real-time system? It will be visualized like a vertical table. Something like this. This is your array, guys. This is your array. Okay. This is your array. So you have item 0, item 1, okay, item 2, item 3, and so on. So you have multiple items over here. Okay. We got multiple items over here. These are multiple items. Array 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. These are all the different items of an array. Everybody, are you clear? How does the items will look like? Items of an array. How does the items will look like? Remember, very important catch here. In above, the internal table index starts with 1. Like site tabix, when you check that starts with 1. But here, all the items starts with 0. Please note, this is extremely important, that items in an array starts with 0 in JavaScript. Galti mat karna, bahut bada problem ho jayega. You need to understand that it starts with 0. Array, all the items in an array starts with 0. Item in array starts with 0. Very important. So first item is 0th item, we call it as, and so on. So can anybody tell me what will be the length of an array? What is the size of an array? Formula for size of array. Kaun batayega? Who's having good maths? Size of an array, what will it be? What will be the size of an array? Total items count minus 1. Right? Total item count minus 1. So in this case, how many total item count? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 minus 1, 3. That is the size of an array. Okay. That is the index of last item actually. Index of last item is total item minus 1. Basically the size minus 1. That's the index of last item because index starts with 0. Okay. Let's go to the system and experience creating an array. So var my array. And I will say here, let's say 10, 20, 30, 40. That's an array I create. And of course, I just also put this to show you the string functions in a second. So now we have got an array 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 30, 40. We've got all that. So now what I'm going to do is I say my array dot length. Get me the length, please. You see, it tells you the total number of items in the array. Length is telling us total number of item. It has got 4. Index of last item, length minus 1. That's the index of last item. If you want to access the first item of an array, my array of 0, you got the first item. You want the last item to be read, my array length minus 1 डाल दो इसके अंदर, हमेशा last item आपको देगा. You see, it's giving you 40. I hope it's clear how to traverse the first item and always the last item of an array from an array. Now, if I want to just print this array again. If I want to insert another item between 20 and 30, I want to insert another value. Let's say 25. And that precisely at index number 2. So 0, 1, 2. At second position, I want to insert. You can say my array dot. You can say splice function. Okay, first of all, I want to remove one of the value. So I'll say I want to remove 20. So index of 20, kaun batayega? Who will tell me what is the index of 20? What is the index of 20? 0, 1. 1 is the index of 20. So you do this and you see, oops. Oh, I'm so sorry. So we have to say splice. We have to pass the index and how many item I want to remove after that index. So we have to say 1 after 1. Okay, why it's doing differently? Let me just check again. Just put the array again. There's something wrong. My array. And please remove splice function. Please remove first item. First item, and after that only remove one item after that. Okay. So after first item index, remove one of the item. And now you see 20 has been removed. When you check back your array, you see 20 is gone. That's how you remove one of the item from the array, from the middle. From the middle. Okay. If you want to remove at the end, you can just do my array dot pop. Push and pop. Yeah. So push to insert, pop to remove. So I say pop, it will remove the last item always. 40 has been removed. And now you see only left with 10 and 30. So that's how you remove the last item of your array. Now coming back, how do you insert an item? So just say my array dot push, and I say 40, and now you see it has inserted at the last place, and now you can check it has got you the 40 again. So push pop, always um, uh, first in last out. All right, first in last out. Yeah. So that's how you do it. But what about if I want to insert in the middle one of the item? So again we'll use splice function, but this time it's the splice function is not going to act like a destructor, but it's going to act like a constructor. So I'll say 20 needs to be inserted after the first index. First item which needs to be inserted is 20. It's going to be 20. Press enter, and you see 20 got inserted at a place of 30, because I have said that please remove also one item. Okay, maybe what I'll do is I will not remove any item. I'll say 0, and after second index please insert 30. So 0 means don't remove. If you put 0, don't remove, just insert, and now you will see this will insert something, and you've got 10, 20, 30, 40. Please practice all these things. I'm putting the source code here for all of you. Please go ahead and practice. That's extremely important, so you can understand these concept of inserting and removing between an array, because we'll be using them regularly. All right, now coming to the next part, how to use a string. So I want to use again a string, Anubhav Oberoi. There are some of the string functions which we use very often. So what I want to do is I want to split this string based on space, this space here. So let's say str dot split based on a space. Please split this on a space, and it will produce like an internal table, like an array it will give you. ये देखो array दे रहा है ये आपको. It's giving you 0th item, first item, Anubhav Oberoi has split it. So that's a split function. You can also use something called concat function to join two strings. So I can say str, first item of str, str only, str still has Anubhav Oberoi. And I want to concatenate, concat is here. And you see Anubhav is here. It has concatenated this part. That's how you can add more stuff to the string. Very powerful string function. So adding new things, removing things. Yeah, that's how you can work with an array. Everybody, are you clear? The variables, working with variables in JavaScript. I'll share all this source code with you, this notepad file. You guys can go ahead and try this out in the system. Everybody, are you clear how to use variables in JavaScript? Now, let me show you an example where I want to store multiple employee data in a internal table. So you just saw the single employee, how we created single employee. This is the way we created single employee, right? So now I'm creating an array of objects. Watch out, array of objects I will be creating. Press F12 again. Come back. Watch out how we create an internal table of employee. Var array employee table, array of employee, employee, array of employee, and array symbol. And now inside this, I will be writing multiple objects. 1, 2. I will be writing 3 objects, for example. The first one is employee ID. Ten, employee name, Sonia. Then we have next as employee salary, 1,000, and we can say currency, USD. Yeah. So we've got this first record over here. Shift enter. And we can do shift enter. So we are actually adding 3 employees in this array. Samajh mein aa raha hai kya everybody? How to create an object table of an array. So this one is one object. Similarly, now you have multiple objects in this array. I hope this is clear. Everyone, this is heavily used in going forward in UI5. So that's why it's extremely important to understand this, gentleman. So Sonia, Vivek, and Mehtab. Let's put 2,000. Let's put 1500 euros AD. So we got this array of object. I'm going to copy this before we do anything in this notepad so you can test this and press enter. Now if you check this employee array, okay, array of EMP, you see it is actually a table, internal table with multiple objects inside. Yeah, superb. Now let me see how many you understood the concept. Tell me, if I want to know salary of Mehtab, how do you print it? How do you print the salary of Mehtab? Anybody? What is the approach you take from this array to reach to the salary of Mehtab, this guy? What is the journey will you take to reach here? Kaise karenge? Anybody? So first of all, you have to look at this. The outside shell is the array of employee. So Mehtab is sitting at position number 2. So first thing first, you have to somehow reach to Mehtab. Okay. And that you will do with array of EMP. And the index is 2. So that gives you Mehtab's record. You see it's giving Mehtab's record now here. Yeah. Now, since you got this particular whole record, this is the structure. Now for structure, it's structure dot field name. So you just say dot cell. And now you see it's showing the print of salary for Mehtab as 1500. Everybody, are you with me? How to traverse to the salary of an employee in an array in this case? Is that clear? It's a nested data type actually, which is having multiple things inside. So let me ask next question. Who will tell me what is the currency in which Sonia is paid? What is the currency in which Sonia is paid? What is the currency in which Sonia is paid? No, don't look at data. Just tell me the rule to get it. Array of employee. Sonia is at position 0. Dot salary. Currency. So Sonia is paid in US dollar. It can change anytime, but this is the formula I've derived out of it. I hope with this example, it's very much apparent and clear. All of you have understood the concept of array of object. So basically, if you really look at this concept in that sense, you are having a JavaScript way of object notation. You are notating or you are writing JavaScript way of writing object. Are you all clear? You're actually writing using JavaScript to write an object. Everybody, are you clear? You are actually writing an object in JavaScript which is having so many items inside. Is this clear, everybody, that you are writing the JavaScript? This is the JavaScript way of writing object, and it is called JSON, JavaScript object notation. पहला character ले लो सबसे JSON, JSON. This becomes JSON, the most powerful concept of JavaScript. JSON. You in the real project, people will keep talking. अरे तेरा JSON सही है क्या? तेरा JSON check करना बे. एक बार JSON check करके देना. So they will keep talking JSON, JSON, JSON. It's nothing but JavaScript object notation. The way you denote an object in JavaScript is called JSON. How do you now go and check, validate the JSON? How to validate if a JSON is valid? That you can check it using something called jsonlint.com. This is where you can go and validate your JSON. So we have just written a JSON here, and I want to cross check if this is valid. I'm going to take this piece of JSON, only the JSON part. Don't take var emp, just take only the JSON. Go back to jsonlint.com on the internet. So just go to jsonlint.com. And now you can just check and validate if it's a valid JSON. So just come here, paste it, and I just say validate. Voila, you can see it's a valid JSON. And now if I do a mistake here, removing a comma from the middle, which is disrupting the JSON, you will get the error over here that there's something wrong near Vivek. This is a very best way to check whether the JSON which you have written is well formed or not, it's correct or not. That's how you can cross check, guys. Very, very important website. You can just validate your JSON over here. Very, very important topic, JavaScript object notation. It's 100% used in almost every application, UI5 application, as well as in every single application. So please, please, please do practice this carefully in the system. Difference between DOM and JSON. Anybody in the room who have attended my last class and who can recall and tell me now at least the difference between DOM and JSON? Shri Krishna is asking a question. Anybody want to unmute their line and ask what is the difference between DOM and JSON? Anybody? What is the difference between DOM and JSON? No one? No one wants to try? I will not
DOM is the
judge
structure
you.
of the HTML, right?
DOM is a structure. DOM stands for document object model.
Document.
It's a
Okay.
tree representation of HTML. It's a HTML representation. This is your DOM. But JSON is JavaScript object notation. It is the data in form of JavaScript. This is a data, guys. This is your data. It's not HTML. It's not a tree structure. DOM is not, HTML is not necessary, sorry, JSON is not necessarily a tree structure. It can be, cannot be, okay? So if I just say here in this case, it's a tree structure. You can see it's a tree structure. Probably it is making a tree structure in the JSON. It's a data, but at the same time, this can be also a JSON, curly braces. And I can say, team, your team name, and I can say KKR, yeah, and then I can say captain, let's say. This is also JSON. This is also JSON. You see valid JSON. So it not necessarily be always a tree structure, can be a tree structure, but that's your JSON. It's a data representation. So DOM is actually the HTML representation, but JSON is the JavaScript representation of data. That's the difference between DOM and JSON. Okay, fantastic. Yes, you are right. JSON can be only seen in the console, and the DOM can only be seen in the element section of the developer's toolbar. This is also another difference you can consider. Absolutely. Okay, what is XML? We will talk about XML later once we reach to the XML chapter. Right now we are not learning XML here in this chapter. When the right time comes, I will explain the XML part also. Everybody, are you clear? Now, the next very interesting thing which you must remember and must understand before we start coding anything in JavaScript. Okay, this is a very oftenly used statement for JavaScript. JavaScript is an asynchronous, non-blocking IO language. It's asynchronous, non-blocking IO. What does this mean? This is extremely important before you start coding on JS to understand the way JavaScript works. So what is a synchronous language? How does the synchronous programming languages? Example can be Java, ABAP, .NET. All these are Python. They are all synchronous programming languages. What is a synchronous programming language? The synchronous programming language is, let's say you have a program. This program is calling a class 1. And this class 1 is calling a class 2. Okay. So you have a program, you execute the program calls class 1 and class 1 calls internally class 2. ऐसा होता है real world में. Whenever you are working, you are coding, you will typically see there will be multiple classes. They will be collaborating together and you will be calling them one by one each other. So from here, there is a call, you say execute the program. This calls a class 1. So it calls, let's say, your class 1 like this. The class 1 executes. And inside class 1, you are making a call to class 2. So what happens, let's say here some point, you made a call to method of a class 2 and the class 2 method is running. Now, what do you think until the class 1 and class 2 and are running completely, does your user have control on UI? Does your user has control on UI? Can you touch the screen? Can you change things on the UI? Let's say you did something like in Mara transaction, MM01, you entered some material, press enter. Now it's hitting the SAP logic and it's calling some classes there. And until this code is running, can you touch the UI? No, you cannot. Your UI gets logged, which means the user and the program, I can also call it as a user, or the program is waiting for this to get finished. Okay, everything is waiting. So until class 2 gets over, the class 2 sends the reply back to class 1 and the class 1 then gets over. Class 1 sends a reply back to this program and finally the program sends a reply back to your user. So till this time, till this whole lifetime, this time which I'm talking in total time is this lifetime, is user is actually waiting. Bichara user jo hai aapka, the user is waiting actually. Are you clear, everyone? Your user is actually waiting. How can I make it like non-smiling one? Yeah, yes, sentiments. So your user is actually waiting until everything gets over. That's how synchronous programming language works, which means it's synchronous execution. User can't do anything. User has to wait until this gets over, until this gets over, until this gets over, until this gets over, and then user get the response. Only then UI becomes again enable for him, and he or she then only can start making further actions on the UI from here. They can interact. Otherwise, they are blocked. This is how synchronous programming languages works. All your programming languages, all of them, they work like this. But JavaScript is different from them. And that's why it's so popular, because JavaScript is actually designed to support billions of users across the globe and yet remain your browser open all the time. Yeah. And that's called asynchronous execution, non-blocking input output. It won't block the user for its input output. How does the JavaScript works in this case? So what does JavaScript works? You have called a program on JavaScript, and now what will happen is this program which is calling the class 1, it called a class 1. Now what the program will do? Program called the class 1 and it is just kind of ended here. It called a function of a class and it ended here. Okay. It ended here. Now class 1 is calling class 2. Okay. So class 1 is calling class 2. So class 1 called the class 2 and it ended here. It ended here. It ended here only. Here only it ended. And then class 2 is also processing something. It's getting executed. Now this is non-blocking the user. So user was earlier blocked for this whole line, but now user is kind of released here itself. The program made a call to class 1 and now program is now no more locking the user. User can start working with the app. But this is something which you cannot gulp down as a programmer. You think, Anubhav, are you crazy? If I just simply call somebody and I don't wait for its reply, then how will my user get the reply back? Whatever processing is being done here, how will my user be notified that, hey, class 2 has done its job, or how will I show a message to the user, now your sales order created successfully or whatever. So in synchronous, I know that I have to wait until the message comes back. But here in this case, Anubhav, what will happen? How will we manage, Anubhav? So guys, watch out what happens here. So in JavaScript, it does not wait. Point 1, it's asynchronous. So your program finished. It doesn't care whether whatever it called, it is getting completed or not. Similarly, class 1, when it calls class 2, further on it went ahead. Maybe there were 2-3 more lines and it got finished here. And there is nothing which it will be doing actually. And then class 2, once the class 2 gets over, which is somewhere later point of time, now it has some output to be displayed to the user. How will this happen? So this happens via something called callbacks. Okay, it happens via something called callbacks. So you will actually put a callback function in your program to tell the system, hey, I am running anyway in asynchronous mode. I will not be waiting for you to get complete. But at the same time, I'm telling you, once you are ready, you can hit this callback function. This callback function, you can capture the output coming out of class 2 and accordingly do the processing and tell the user, hey user, now the program execution is completed. Okay, that's what you can do. And this guy here, this guy which I will highlight now probably in a black color, is called callback function in JavaScript. So callback functions are very often, very often, okay, they are very often in JavaScript. They are mainly used to handle the asynchronous output. When the output is coming somewhere later point of time for which I did not waited anymore, when the output comes back, that is the time when the callback function hits. But now how does this guy knows that I have to call this callback? How does it know? That you have to pass as an argument to the class 1 and then ultimately to class 2. Somehow you need to send the callback information. When you are calling at the beginning only this guy, you need to send this callback information that this is my callback, you can talk to later point of time, that you have to anyway tell to this guy, and then it will be able to make this callback. You just have to send the name of the callback and then it will come back and it will call back. Now let me explain this with a practical example so that you can relate to it in the world. So once upon a time I was having my engineering exams. And you know, in engineering, typically we don't refer only one book. We always refer multiple books. Sometimes we refer Indian author book. Then we also refer foreign author books, right? For one subject, we have multiple books. Like I remember electromagnetic field theory, the Maxwell equations. I have read about 5 books for that alone because concepts were so difficult and I have to read multiple books. So I don't have all the budget to buy all the books. So what I did is I borrowed the book from my friend. Okay. I borrowed a book and I said, hey, we have our next exam after 7 days. So I borrowed a book from my friend and then I said, we have exam after 7 days. So this duration between first exam and next exam was 7 days. I said, you give me the book for 2 days. Okay. In the meantime, I'll give you my big book. That's a different story. Take and give. But you give me this book for 7. The next exam is after 7 days, and I will return this book back to you after 2 days. 2 दिन मेरे को पढ़ने दे तेरी book से, और 2 दिन के बाद मैं तेरे को return कर दूंगा. So this was a point when I have to return the book back to him. Okay. So I borrowed a book and I started reading that book. But right on the 3rd day, the day on which I supposed to return the book, I got an emergency. And somehow I have to leave the town immediately. Immediately. And now I don't have time because of emergency to go back to the friend's house and give this book to my friend. Okay, I don't have that much time. I have to leave immediately my town, leaving that book behind. Now tell me guys, what did I do to return back this book to my friend? When I am not there, what do you think I can do so that this book somehow can reach to my friend? Anyone? Exactly. You leave the book to your home and tell your mama or dada or your brother or anywhere in the family that when my friend come back, please hand over this book to my friend. Everybody, forget about JavaScript. Are you clear? This book example. Are you clear? Forget about JavaScript. Forget about technicality. Forget about coding. Are you clear? What did I do to return the book back when I'm not there? I tell my mom, Mama, this guy is going to come. Okay. Ankit is going to come after 2 days or today or tomorrow. I am not there here. Please return this book to Ankit. This is what I told my mama. I left the book with my mama and I left the town immediately. Also, I informed Ankit, when you come back, Ankit, please take your book from my mom. I will not be there, Ankit, but my mom will be there. You can ask my mom. My mom will give you back the book. Is this clear, everybody? This practical example is clear. So what do you think? Will Ankit have to wait for me to come back in this case? Will Ankit have to wait for me to come back to get his book back? No, Ankit don't have to do that. Ankit can take the book from my mom because my mom is the call back function. When you are not there, there is somebody else who is going to respond to you. Look at here, same thing is happening. This is me. This is the caller program. I borrowed a book. This is me, the caller program. I borrowed a book from Ankit and now I studied, and now I have to leave the town and I will not be there in this period. In this period, I'm not there. When Ankit comes back to take his book, who will be there to give Ankit the book? Who will be there to give Ankit the book? Who will be there to respond to Ankit? My mom will be there, and my mom is the callback function. But I need to also inform the Ankit, hey Ankit, when you come back, I will not be there. My mom will be there. She will give you back the book. Are you all clear, guys? Asynchronous, non-blocking IO. It's asynchronous. I don't have to be there all the time to return the book. Asynchronous, non-blocking. It's not blocking Ankit, neither it's blocking me to go for emergency. It's not blocking both of us. Both can get the work done provided my mom is there at home. That's my callback function. I informed Ankit. My mom will be there. This is the information I'm sending to Ankit. This is Ankit here. When Ankit comes back, my mom is here to support him. I am not there anymore. The person who took the book is not there anymore. That's called non-blocking asynchronous IO. Is this clear, everybody, how JavaScript works? With example, why I take unconventional methods of teaching so that only for you guys, so you can remember these concepts. Only and only for you guys, I take this non-conventional example to make life simple for you. And this is all my practical experiences mapping to the real world so that you can understand the concepts of this programming language, so-called JavaScript. With that, I'm done with today's session. There is a lot more pending on JS. We'll start that in the next class. Time for your questions one by one. Exercise, of course. Time for your question, guys.
No.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So the place where you wrote the code, that is with the help of F12, isn't it? Under the console.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Press F12 and in the console, you can test everything right away.
So over here, do we need to select any particular filter or something, or we can do directly?
JavaScript is understood by browser directly. Fundafox, you forgot the Fundafox. JavaScript browser understand JavaScript directly. Just press F12, go to console, start writing your JS code.
So every time we'll be writing over here only? I mean, like whenever we need to do any JavaScripting?
No, we are writing here. We are writing actually here, the actual code you saw just now.
Okay. That's for the practice.
There you're just writing for testing purpose.
Thank you.
To understand, learn, you can do that there. Actual will be written here. There's a lot to come, as I mentioned. Hold on your breath. We got a lot to come in tomorrow's class on GS. Now your fundamentals are clear, so you'll understand more in the next class. With that, it's a wrap on today's session. Thank you so much for joining today's class. Have a nice day and see you tomorrow.